We're back, everybody, and we're going to be bringing you our third game of the day. But before we do that, I'm Penguin, this is Dagda. Good to get introductions out of the way. Before we get into that kind of setup and the next one, we've obviously finished off Group D for the day, and we got a quick look at the standings and how that kind of sets up the group after the first kind of couple of matches. And it's not as expected, but definitely not a surprise to see Doc and French representatives kind of towering above their LVP and NLC counterparts.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think a lot of people are expecting Schalke No Fear Revolution to be able to dismantle BTXL in the way that they did, but certainly the Doc fans and the Prime League fans are going to be very happy with that result. And obviously Carmine Corp kind of come in with the expected win, the first seed from the LFL beating out the third seed from the Superliga was not really going to go too well for the Spanish representatives.
Yeah, it's kind of the unfortunate kind of side of things. There is a certain gap we've noticed throughout the years between third seeds and first seeds when it comes to other regions. But again, if you're looking at the likes of Spain, you're looking at the likes of Germany, you still have 3 seeds. France doesn't have 3 seeds in this tournament anymore. You only have Misfits Premier in Group B, and of course you have K Corp down in Group D. But that's the kind of difference here that you're kind of setting yourselves up. So you got a couple of different options for yourself as we kind of roll through the day. And speaking of rolling through the day, let's have a look at the schedule. We got our particular last match today, which is mousesports versus Macko Esports, the PG Nuts champions versus the number 2 seed, I believe, coming in here from the DOC region. And then later on, we've got to swap over to 2 fantastic cats. It's going to be Munchables and Ox. Are it Ox today? I can't remember. I believe it is Ox today.
It is Ox, yeah.
Yes, Munch and Ox is going to be taking you through the rest of the day. But honestly, right now, I'm looking at Luminar Gaming versus UCAM Esports Club. Those 2 teams right now are the big ones that I'm looking at as our 4th match of the day, as the really kind of cannot miss.
Honestly, man, EU Masters is stacked. I love watching this tournament, and even if I'm not casting it, just because you get to see so much up-and-coming talent, you get to see basically all the lads that are coming into LEC next split because they perform so well in EU Masters. I mean, you just look at Mad Lions who have won out in the LEC, this was a team that played in the EU Masters not too long ago, and suddenly they're on their way to MSI. So certainly I think watching this tournament, you get to see the superstar talent before they hit the superstardom.
Yeah, honestly, I think, you look at, the players, 7 of the 10 players that played in the final of LEC were in EU Masters last year. That's how much of a massive difference it can be. And, when we started off with a kind of, a Spanish dominance, if you will, when you look at the history, the origin, Mad Lions winning it out. Then we went to, Misfits Premier, who were able to win out, in favor, over SK Gaming, I believe, SK Gaming Prime. And then we had Big, LDLC, and then a Go Rogue. We've kind of been swapping and changing in terms of the regional powers throughout the entirety of EU Masters, and it's great to see how they come into this, how they want to protect, kind of that legacy that they've garnered for themselves. We'll get back to that a little bit later on, as we got to jump straight now into the picks and bans. MOUZ on the blue side, Macko on the right, and I do apologize to all my PG Nuts fans if I am pronouncing that absolutely butcherly, but in Ireland, if you're called you could be called Macko in Ireland, and that's why I see when I see it. But come back to that again later. Tristana, Thresh, Lilia, the Aurelia, and the Seraphine all banned off the board.
Yeah, I mean, look, given the respect to leader, you got the Aurelia ban in 67% of the games against MOUZ. They're just cool, do not give leader what has been his most played 100% win rate champion. Seems good. We're into good spots here for Macko. But I think honestly coming into this is battle of the solo laners for me. Satorius and leader versus StenBosse and Sebekx. These have been the kind of the standout performers in getting their individual wins in lane and then transitioning that elsewhere in the map. When it comes towards MOUZ, they like to play towards their jungle. When we look towards Macko, they like to try and play a little bit down towards this bottom side of the map. But I think this is where we're going to see a lot of back and forth here in this game.
Yeah, the Nocturne locked in. I'm not going to say it's going to happen, but what I am going to say is Gadget has been known to play Karthus, okay? Karthus is something in his wheelhouse. Yes. We could see Gadget on Karthus. He did play it in the LCL, a couple of different times. So I'm not saying it's going to happen. We'll talk about it if and when it happens. But coming back into it, just kind of mentioning on your point, and whoa, hang on. Let me go back to that point. Annie locked in here for the side of Macko.
I'm gonna wait to see if that is a placeholder every so often. I know we're on live or on the tournament realm, but sometimes. But
it shouldn't be.
Yeah, I think over. Yeah, I know. But either way, I think that's kind of a bit out of left field if it is a set, especially locking it in now. But I want to go back to kind of the point you're making about the AP bot lanes for MOUZ. I think they've actually been the strongest points for the likes of Gadget, taking the Viktor, the Syndra, and all these kind of stuff. So I wouldn't be surprised to see something like this. As I was about to say, Nocturne flexed in towards the mid lane, towards leader, could even go towards Satorius in the top lane. And then you still go towards something like the Syndra or the Viktor or the Ziggs for Gadget in the bottom lane. I mean, look, this guy made his name on UOL taking that Ziggs pick in the play-in stages.
Yeah, honestly, it feels like, as you said, that was kind of his bread and butter, as you kind of say that. And I just want to make a quick shout out. I've been informed it's Muchko for our right-hand team. Thank you, Moonboy, one of the casters over in the PG Nats. Did set me on the straight and narrow. I normally text him about all these different things, and I didn't text him this time around. It's been so busy. But again, we talked about a little bit at the start of the show about all the different nerfs and buffs that were kind of coming in. Someone who did get a very significant buff, to kind of buff him up towards that top side, top tier supports is going to be that Braum.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a bit of a strange one coming in from Muchko, because essentially right now they're just going, hey, look, we've got some, if it is Annie, some really strong engage coming through from the Annie, but also really great disengage, like counter engage, I'll say actually instead, because when you look towards like, okay, Nocturne's jumping in, Leona's jumping in, you're going to have Udyr who's galloping his way along trying to catch up. You step down the Glacial Fissure, you can toss down this Tibbers in on top of everyone. It just seems like it's working out really, really well for Muchko in kind of counteracting this dive comp that MOUZ are starting to formulate for themselves.
Yeah, another amendment. It's Muchko, not Muchko. I apologize, Moonboy. Muchko, yeah. So MUCH-KO. I apologize. I sometimes butcher these names, and I know, and it is important. I'm literally called Oshin. If you spell it out, no one knows how to pronounce it. So I do understand it is. I love these bans coming out though from the side of Muchko, because Muchko are able to kind of recognize that this Karthus is still something Gadget can play. He still has things like the Ziggs. He's got a couple of other different AP options, and we were looking into this, and if you look at the history of Gadget, Gadget is someone that Gadget is someone that, kind of leans a little bit more towards these AP heavy bot laners than someone, than towards the AD heavy.
Yeah, and I mean, it does facilitate leader, right? I mean, this guy loves to play those AD mid laners. And I mean, I'm curious to see as well if this Nocturne is going mid. I mean, we know it's going to a solo lane, right? But when you look towards it, it's like, hey, look, I mean, neither leader or Satorius have picked this up yet, so still very flexible. But at least for Muchko, they're trying to enact a game plan that can deal with this, right? We already talked about the Braum and also that Annie. Now you've got the Peel tool coming in with the Featherstorm for the Xayah. They are fully just like, okay, this is a composition that we have figured out. Hey, if you're diving in on top of us, it's all the ways to deal with them right now.
Yeah, they have so many things that can just, negate, either delay or, straight up just avoid all of what mousesports are trying to do right now. And Gadget going to be maybe picking up the Viktor. We'll see what the final pick is here before we decide where everything is going to be going. You still got a couple of seconds here for MOUZ, but I would not be surprised to see, the Nocturne towards that, that mid lane for leader. Leader has almost exclusively played Assassin Champions this year. I think if you go right down the end of his, setup, it is something like, the Azir and the Cassin right down the end of his pick list. But I'm actually not quite sure where this one's going to go now. Could be Viktor top, could be Ezreal mid. There's a lot of different flexes here. These guys play a very different style.
I think it will be Satorius with the Nocturne top. You're going to have the Viktor going in towards mid lane for leader, and you will get Gadget going towards his Ezreal. The reason I'm thinking that is because when you look towards a Braum, you can't really do anything against an Ezreal, right? You can just leave Gadget bot lane. It's like, yeah, look, you're on your own, lad. I'm going as Enjawve. I'm going to go deal with this mid lane. I'm going to shut down this weird Annie pick that Sebekx has brought out. We're going to start to look towards trying to get an advantage with Pridestalkr and see if we can make these plays happen in the early stages of the game. I am so excited to see how this Nanny pick works for Sebekx, though. This feels like something that has been very much a game plan coming through from Muchko, and something that I've always loved about Sebekx, like he's been around for years, is just how deep his champion pool is, right? We've seen him go Assassins, we've seen him go for the Renektons mid, we've seen him go towards your standard control mages, like he used to be a big Azir player back in the day. Now bringing something completely different into this one as well.
Yeah, honestly, and I love how you mentioned how he's just been here for what feels like forever, because Sebekx has been literally around since like 2013. I believe he was in the 2014 EU LCS pre-qualifier, Challenger Series pre-qualifier. That's how long this man has been in the scene. And looking at even towards the first EU Masters, he got to the finals against Origin with Illuminar Gaming. He was in the very first EU Masters finals mid lane, setting himself up with the the Illuminar Gaming. So this guy has a myriad of veterancy to his name, and honestly someone that I will be very much looking forward to see as we jump onto the Rift. This Annie pick has a lot of potential to be explosive if people don't respect it.
I do like the way MOUZ have kind of reacted to this, though, right? Because we were talking about, hey, look, you've got Satorius who dives, you've got Leona who likes to go in, and Pridestalkr will be playing very melee, very close in combat with those divers. But looking at Leader, looking at Gadget, hey, they got the long range. They've got a lot of ways of trying to control the fights when you look towards the Viktor as well. And it means you're not going to be able to, as Sebekx, just plonk down this Tibbers and hit multiple members. We're talking like 4 or 5 members of MOUZ. Instead now, Sebekx is going to be a little bit more reliant on the things like Flash if he wants to get access towards Leader, towards Gadget, and kind of like playing almost like the style that we saw years ago when Annie was that support, where you were very reliant on these things that can help you get into fights like the Flash or Righteous Glory back in the day. But this time around, it'll be obviously the full AP style here.
Yep, full AP style, obviously kind of, see champion, kill champion. That's kind of what it is. I usually see, I actually like the electric. I personally would love to see a Predator. You just run into other lanes and try and just, separate yourself and just got to flash in, get the stun down. But, you got to take into consistency as well. I understand the extra burst is definitely more worth it for you, as we can see. Both junglers starting on the red buff. No leash here, though, for Cboi, as he gets himself onto the Hecarim and just kind of puts himself up towards that top side. So he's going to be pathing a little bit more towards that bot lane, whereas we're going to see on the side of MOUZ, he's going to be more towards those subtle lanes, which you mentioned could be the key here for both of these teams in this match.
Yeah, exactly. And look, I just want to hit on one last thing for the mid lane. When we're looking at Annie, don't forget that she has been changed a while ago. She can shield elsewhere. So it's not just shielding herself. She can provide a lot of stats to someone like Dirker in that bot lane as well, and doing a lot of work there. Or you can start to give it towards the likes of Cboi when he goes in aggressive as well. So I think you've got a lot of opportunities here coming through for Annie, alongside trying to last hit with this Q, so you get that mana regen. You can see there, that's why Sebekx is able to stay so nicely topped up on mana in this lane, and they'll be looking to try and get Cboi in nice and early to play off the stuns that Annie can settle.
Well, speaking of playing off the stuns, Leader forced to back away pretty early. Still has his cleanse and his flash, so shouldn't be in any real danger. Just an annoying horsey galloping into his face. Bot lane going to be pushed in here by the PG Natch champions as they get themselves a nice bit of priority. Maybe go for a little bit of a cheeky back. A lot of different small little things happening right now, and you can see there Satorius getting the push into the top side on your mini-map. It's, again, not really going to have any explosive kind of setup. Honestly, right now, I'm expecting level 6 is the big number here. I'm looking at the ultimates. You've got the Chaos Storm, the Paranoia, the Onslaught of Shadows, the Dominus, the Anti-Tibbers. There's so many big explosive ultimates on both sides that whoever gets the advantage, honestly, could try and snowball it from there.
Yeah, and as a result, right, these summoner spells become so crucial. Flashes to get away from some of those engages or set up those engages. Cleanses like we see on Leader or on towards the Xayah in that bottom lane as well. Like, there's so much that you've got to try and factor in on both sides here. But at least when I look towards MOUZ in those later game fights, I have some really nice zone control. Like, if you end up with the likes of Cboi going in aggressive, you can try and use the likes of that gravity field, or even try and use the Leona ultimate to separate out these fights, stop the follow-up coming through from Sebekx, from StenBosse, and making sure that you can actually deal with one portion of the fight before you unlock stage 2. Then when you look across at the opposite side, though, very much trying to get in and get dirty very quickly with this kind of dive setup, and making sure they can burst members out very quickly of MOUZ Esports.
I've been given another Another amendment, if you will, to the pronunciation of our Italian champions is a Macko.
God.
So I think that should be it. I think that should be it.
So
should be the end of it.
MCK are really going to do well this game if they can get rolling. That's what I'm learning here.
We will do it justice. We will learn the name. We will get them properly set up. I do apologize to anyone who's listening and just rolling their eyes at the way we're pronouncing it. It is something that doesn't naturally come to the Irish tongue. We prefer our harsher and our much kind of harsher vowels as such and consonants. But we'll see now as we come into this game. It's a pretty even setup. No one really kind of going crazy. And honestly, I'm very curious to see what Leader can do on this Viktor. We mentioned it a little bit, you know, of his champion pool coming into the, you know, kind of European Masters. And this guy has been Aurelia, Yone, Zed, like these are the champions that he plays coming into the series. It's something he's been known for years. And right now, he's not on that champion. He's on a control mage. He's on the control list of control mages on the Viktor. So I'm curious to see what he's able to do with this pick and if it's going to make a significant impact to the way MOUZ play.
Yeah, and I mean, look, it's had a significant impact in the way the MOUZ draft anyway. We talk about Gadget picking up AP bot laners. We have Pridestalkr who goes towards a lot of like the Nidalees and the Lilias, but this time around going towards the Viktor, taking a bit of a step back. And this kind of is a bit strange when you think about the grand scheme of things, how MOUZ play. Because the way MOUZ have been playing is utilizing the fact that Leader is such a strong laner, using the fact that Satorius is so good at punishing wave mismanagement from the enemy laner. You can already see it there, that he's been doing a great job against StenBosse here. And then using that to play around Pridestalkr, making sure that they can keep him safe in his own jungle, using that prio that you're able to force from the MOUZ solo laners to go for invades. But when you're playing the Viktor Annie matchup, you're not able to get it as much. Yes, Satorius can play towards that to a certain extent, having the ultimate to follow in alongside Pridestalkr. But this is actually a bit of a different game plan from what we usually see from MOUZ.
Well, we are going to see a bit of a scuffle now on this bot side. Cboi just jumping straight in there as they're going to try and stun him up. He has no flash and no more ghosts. Unbreakable popped up there just to keep him alive just about. But the early Dracos go over to the side of Macko. They get themselves out of the bot lane skirmish and they're going to be fine. Still stacking up that cull in that bot side.
Yeah, I'm just watching Satorius there. You can see he was holding onto that TP for so long in case he needs to join in bot, but nothing happens though. StenBosse now going for a big trade.
Yeah, StenBosse is someone that we looked at as someone who likes to create his own advantages. It's kind of hard to do that against someone like a Nocturne who's got a spell shield, he's got a fear, he's got himself an AD stem as well with his his Dustbringer. So a lot of ways that he can just kind of negate a lot what you're trying to do. And even there, getting a little bit of help from RNG, just getting himself a honey fruit as well into the lane, so he's going to come back with just as much health as we can see him now.
Enjawve's on the way too.
There's the paranoia. Yeah, they've got themselves a little bit of movement here, but first blood 1v1, that's all you need, and that's going to be the PG Nat's chance, taking themselves to a first advantage.
And really nice job from StenBosse, right? This is why we're talking about this solo lane being so important, because whoever gets a lead is going to be able to run away with it. And right now it is StenBosse who's doing a great job of shutting down Satorius. Unfortunately for Enjawve, he wasn't able to get up there fast enough, able to help him out, and Pridestalkr will collect the wave, but it's still a big win for the MCK top lane.
Yeah, gets himself a solo kill as well. Obviously had his jungler in tow, but speaking of having people in tow, we are going to see maybe a little bit of a scuffle here. Annie's Tibber goes down. They do not quite get the full combo off. Leader has to get himself out with the flash. Not quite far enough, though, and that's going to be Darking picking himself up at kill. There's the onslaught of shadows. Flash burned here by Satorius, and this is starting to feel like, Macko, they're the ones that are dictating the pace. They're the ones that are coming out with the advantage.
Oh, they sniped!
Sniped! So they do get a little bit of a turnaround there. Not quite as clean as you would like it there for the Italian stallion, but nonetheless, still getting a 1-for-1 kill trade.
And Macko doing a really good job here of roaming up. They're like, hey, look, you know what? This Rift Herald is going to spawn. Let's get the bot lane push that we've had moving up towards this top side. And although we talked about, Gadget being able to use this Ezreal to unlock Leona from this bottom lane, it hasn't paid dividends thus far for MOUZ Esports. They get the early roam from Leona, which means that Gadget has to play back, which gives MCK bot that push. And now MOUZ, though, they're the first to move towards Rift Herald, and they're the ones that are able to pick this up.
Yeah, but look at that massive wave bot side. I feel like if you're Macko, you can't really let Dark King not have this giant wave, and he's going to be able to freeze it as well. So he's going to be able to do a lot of punishment here for the overcommitment, if you will, to the side of, you know, mousesports trying to look to try and get that, you know, a Rift Herald as early as they possibly could. So still about a 400 gold lead in favor of MOUZ. We can see how this whole happened. Kind of very messy in that mid lane. And Leader has to cleanse, he has to flash. It's just not enough. He hasn't got enough to kind of, you know, get himself away.
Yeah, I mean, look, a lot of burst damage coming through very quickly. Hello, me. And start to look towards top side, though. The big thing here for MOUZ is actually this. The fact that they were able to rotate Gadget up towards top side. They get Pridestalkr moving in there once as well. Like, this is where you're able to get a lot of gold facilitated in towards Gadget. And when you've got an Ezreal like this that's able to bounce off of, you know, the legendary items rather than the mythic items, bit of a cheaper buy, gets to a nicer build. Like, this guy's going to be really strong now when we hit the likes of the Essence Reaver he's just finished and that Manamune.
Yeah, and obviously having the Ezreal, you do get yourself a true shot barrage to try and stop a freeze. It won't stop it, but it was a good attempt. As actually, no, I think the Dark King actually stops it himself. So. Yeah, it thought it a little bit, but actually it's going to be Dark King who ends up stopping that one. But you have no flash, no cleanse here for Leader. Actually, excuse me, he does have flash, just got to back off of cooldown. 4 seconds until that dragon spawns. You still have flash Tibbers here for Sebekx, so that could be an opportunity here for the side of Macko, as they have got waiting for that StenBosse TP to come just off of cooldown. They've got a couple of seconds on that one if they want to try and find a flank, but it's already, oh, as I say that, flash forward gets the damage down. Nowhere for you to go, Leader, and that is the pure burst from Annie that we were talking about.
Yeah, I mean, look, the flash forward, the kill instantly, and that's going to set up... well, I was going to say it could set up the fight for them, but bot side...
Well, there's going to be a paranoia used to get out the feathers from Dark King, but now everyone's kind of collapsing in on top of this Xayah. Gonna find it very difficult. No real wave, though, for him to kind of, you know, get caught up on top of, so they're not going to be able to get the push in the bot side. So you give up a dragon, you're getting a lot of free time for StenBosse in this top side as well. He's getting a lot of free money here, kind of negating the effect of the early Rift Herald as well.
But Macko didn't get anything, right? I mean, yes, they got the flash pick onto Leader, but they haven't transformed that into plates in mid lane with, like, Cboi playing towards that. They didn't really stick around for very long. They didn't try and, like, collapse onto MOUZ in the bottom lane. So, yeah, you get a kill, but the objective went across towards MOUZ. MOUZ are the ones that are getting pressure on this bottom side. Like, you've got to take the next steps here as Macko if you are hoping to actually get more and get some gold in your back pockets, rather than just, you know, okay, a quick pick and peace out.
Watch that ward. Watch that ward right there. And the tri-bush here. That could be the move here for the side of Macko as they look to try and maybe get a TP in with Sebekx and with StenBosse. They were pinging it out a little bit there. See if they want to try and commit to it fully. Might just kind of teeter out a little bit. Don't know if they want to go for it. I saw the pings. I got a little bit excited, but talking about kind of, you know, coming into this mid game, we got ourselves a 12 and a half minutes on the clock. It is a pretty much gold game, a dragon apiece. It is a cloud rift. You've got yourself an Essence Reaver and a turbo chem tank for Ezreal and Udyr respectfully. And you're just kind of working towards those first items here for the side of Macko, and, you know, seeing if you can get those early kind of, you know, setups for yourself. The extra burst here for Sebekx is going to be huge, and of course the Gore Drinker or maybe even the Stride Breaker here for StenBosse to try and break down that gap is also an option. So that's kind of what you're waiting for here now if you're on the side of Macko.
Yeah, I still want to see Macko ramp this up. Like, when I look towards MOUZ, the way they play the compositions are pretty much always having some sort of late game skating, like we're seeing with Leader on this Viktor. They'll wait towards the mid to late game team fights, the 3rd to 4th dragons. And right now, with Macko not really accelerating the game and not really putting their foot down, it feels like MOUZ are getting time to get towards these item breakpoints. Like, where you're getting 2 items on towards this Ezreal, where this Viktor will be able to work up towards, you know, 2 to 3 items for himself and not really be in too much danger right now. Because as we said, look, yes, you are getting some picks and you are getting some kills for Macko, but you're not getting objectives, you're not getting towers, you're not getting anything really else. So right now, I want to see Cboi getting out of the jungle. I want to see them looking towards this top lane tower where you can use the TP available towards Sebekx, create a 3-man dive on top side on towards Satorius, take tower, and then start to break open this game further.
Kraken Slayer finished up here though for Dark King, so that's one little small advantage they were able to kind of get themselves. StenBosse pushes in that top side, will probably have his Mythic as well. You see Gadget just trying to be a nuisance there with those Mystic shots, and they are starting to hurt. With the Essence Reaver, he has just got unlimited mana available to him, and that's a scary prospect here as he just kind of builds himself up to, you know, kind of becoming that couple of those little Qs or little auto attacks land. That is where you can have your advantage here for the side of MOUZ, as we see TP going to be committed here in the top and the mid lane from Sebekx, gets himself in with the Proto Belt. So I actually quite like this. I like this adaptation, just adding an extra gap closer to make sure that if someone flashes away, if you can bait that out, you can catch up to them in the end.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a lot more burst for the Annie. The problem that I have here is, like, look, you've got this TP advantage of Sebekx, right? And you haven't got a CS advantage out of it, even though you've been in the lane a lot. You haven't really been moving around to try and get some pressure elsewhere. It just feels like this TP advantage that MCK have could have been exploited a lot more throughout this game. And we just talked about, right, the potential dive top side, potentially making some plays off the TP bot, maybe moving towards Rift Herald, but now Muchka at least are moving in and using the advantage that they have to get vision on this bottom side to allow Durking to keep pushing in, but certainly it doesn't feel like they're exploiting the advantages they have as much as possible.
And Xayah needs to be a bit careful. No wards here. And doesn't have a support just yet. You can see there they're just going to use the Solar Flare, bait out the ultimate, and that's a much bigger cooldown for the Xayah than is the Leona. We talk about this. Without her escapes, Xayah is incredibly vulnerable because she's so short range. That ultimate is a key cooldown, just as valuable as her flash or her cleanse.
But the thing is, you're giving up topside here. Rift Herald has just gone the way of Pridestalkr. Oh, hang on.
Oh, flash by Gadget, as we can see the onslaught of shadows going off the other way. 3 seconds till that dragon spawns. It is going to be the Rift Heralds taken and, or sorry, spawned, excuse me, into the mid lane, and now MOUZ are the ones on the objective first. But the TP coming in here from StenBosse. He's got the Gore Drinker, he's got the Dominance, he's already popped it. Dragon's gone. Now do you look for the fight, the Paranoia, to give everyone a little bit of nearsightedness. They do not land the Glacial Fissure. MOUZ get in, they get out, they get themselves the prize, and they get themselves out scot-free.
And this is one of the big underrated things when you look towards a Nocturne against the dive composition. Having that full darkness makes it real difficult to coordinate any sort of dive, because you're like, hey lads, have you got in? Can you just give me a thumbs up if you got in? Because I have no idea. I'm playing in the dark. And when you're trying to coordinate CC chain, making sure you're hitting onto the right members, it makes it an absolute nuisance. And you can see there, Satorius, he just pops it to allow MOUZ to disengage. So MOUZ in that play, they get Rift Herald, they get the crash mid off of Rift Herald, they get Dragon, and when you look across at Muchko, they didn't get anything. They tried to make a play to bot, which failed. They don't even get the tower off it, but now MOUZ fighting over the scuttle and top side, but at least that's something that Muchko managed to get.
Yeah, it's all well and good getting these small little kills, but you're not really getting examined. That being said, they do have 1,000 gold vantage, and that's going to be Satorius getting pretty much jumped on here by the Renekton and the Hecarim. Very difficult for him to really go any from here. No flash, no paranoia, easy kill. 2-1-1 now for the pony. The Italian stallion starting to ramp himself up now into this mid-game. And this is where I'm like, yes, absolutely, MOUZ are playing a slightly smarter game, but then there's small little things like that where I'm like, but then they just let it go. And Matchco, in fairness to them and 100% props to them, they capitalize on it.
Yeah, that wasn't the best position for Satorius. I'll put that one out there. Certainly, I think he was kind of hoping that, look, Pridestalkr was up on that top side, but there was just too quick coming through from the Italian team. And now MOUZ coming back onto the map. We'll get a bit of damage onto Durkleen, but honestly, they're just trying to find ways to crack these turrets.
Look at that for confidence there from Sebekx. He just goes in with the Proto Belt, burns Leader's flash immediately. Leader knows he has no cleanse, he has no escape, and he will be instantly bursted down if he took that anti-Tibbers. And that's just talking about, like, you know, with the Proto Belt being completed, you could bait out summoners, you could bait out flashes or anything like that, because you know that you're not burning your own, so it's a guaranteed win. And if they don't do it, you just get the full combo anyway.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, look, I like that, like, Sebekx is bringing out some of these new picks, and I think it will have a massive impact when we do get towards these team fights. Like, don't get me wrong, I think when we look towards the Baron that's spawning soon, even if we start to rack up these dragons as well, it can do a hell of a lot. it's just a case of trying to find those right engages. And as we said, look, if you end up trying to have Sebekx go in aggressive with Cboi, when Satorius has popped this ultimate, it can be really difficult to try and coordinate the Annie Tibbers into all the follow-up coming through for the Italian team. So I think here, you need to make sure as MCK that you're either getting a very quick pick with this Annie, or you're waiting out that ultimate from the Nocturne a little bit longer so you can get these big engagements.
Ooh, StenBosse might be getting pinched himself, and actually it's a kind of a fight on two fronts here. As you can see, everyone just jumps in straight on top of the Leona, but it's a trade support for top laner. You will take that all day, every day, and you'll get the support as well. That is just a big win and a massive misstep there from Macko. They did not have the Annie. They did not have that instant CC burst, and they got punished very, very hard for it.
And we can see the zone control from MOUZ is so important in that fight as well, right? You end up getting that gravity field down, it separates MCK, so they're not really able to mount any sort of defense. They're running for the hills, and rightly said, Sebekx hadn't TP'd in, so you don't have the big Annie there to try and play through.
Well, they will pick themselves up a turret, so this seems to be a game of you get the kill, you lose the objective, as we look back onto how this one kind of happened. And yeah, like, this is just a good move here from the Leona, jumping straight in on top of everybody to force everyone to kind of focus on her rather than help StenBosse.
Yeah, and again, the CC chain gravity field with the solar flare, you've got the Satorius who's able to fling himself over the top side of the fight as well to kill off StenBosse. And it just feels like for Macko that they're not really able to mount any sort of proper offense here. I don't like that Sebekx is in a side lane. I really think that the way you try and play this here as Macko is linking up with Chris and Cboi, forcing MOUZ back, getting deep vision control, and then you can start to make picks. But again, you're not really getting deep vision control here as Macko. It's allowing MOUZ free entry in towards River, and then for leader, you're happy. Like, you have a perfectly good spot at these choke points to set down a gravity field. It's really difficult to get past Enjawve. You got a bunch of AoE damage coming through from Gadget leader.
Speaking of damage, that Satorius dead straight away. We can now see what they're able to do with this when Glacial Fissure comes down to try and separate them all, but StenBosse is on the back line. He is on to Gadget, and there's nowhere for him to really go. Now the Braum is trying to play keep away here with Pridestalkr and leader trying to sync up with their team, but that was just a very good opportunistic pick. And look at the summoners that were burned. Pridestalkr, Gadget, and you know, Leona, all of these summoners are now down. You cannot contest this dragon. They might try to go for a cheeky steal, but I feel like this is just a bad call if MOUZ want to try and stick around for it. They do not get the steal, though, with the True Shot Barrage. And maybe if you're, you know, mousesports, you just kind of have to lick your wounds here and walk away. That just wasn't the moment.
No, that really wasn't. And honestly, great job from Macko in that situation where they were able to find the great engage that they needed to. StenBosse being able to get in on towards Satorius, pick him off before the fight even starts. And you can see there, Satorius never got a chance to use the ultimate. So you're going in with all this vision for MCK, which makes it 10 times easier to actually facilitate these team fights. So a massive job coming through there from MCK. And now they net themselves that dragon, get some much needed gold in their back pocket. They can get control of the map crucially as well, and look to rinse and repeat that at Baron now.
Yeah, and you still have the flash for Sebekx as well. Like, you've got a guaranteed engage with him coming in now. As we see now, they're looking towards this Baron pit. There is no tier 1 in that mid lane, so it's going to be a kind of a pressure point here for the side of Macko. And they also kind of back away, and this is kind of what you're looking to do. You don't have a TP, you can kind of just force them out in and out, but I think honestly you're not really going to be able to go for the Baron here for Macko. You don't really have the damage. You're looking to try and bait in the fight, but I don't feel like MOUZ have any reason to ever check it out.
I mean, they can kind of check it all day with the scrying orbs. They've also got the ultimate from Gadget they're happy to fling out. And as you said, you don't really have a huge amount of burst there, or at least for Baron-wise, when you've got StenBosse on the bottom side of the map as well. So they're just happy to try and play this ping pong right now. Try and get some much needed gold in their back pockets. Like, you can see Gadget is working up towards his mythic item, will be going towards that Duskblade. For leader as well, having that Banshee Veil is kind of great for Sebekx, but does delay his damage and his power spike, so he really does want to get to that third item, get that Void Staff, get the Rabadons, before he really becomes a nuisance in these fights. So for MOUZ, this kind of ping pong and this slower paced game right now works for where they want to get to.
I've got a locket here for Dark Kree as the on the Braum. And of course, you got the Horizon Focus as well. So, skill shot. Of course, the Tibbers does count as a skill shot, so it does a hell of a lot of damage on top of the already absurd amount of AP ratios it has. And this is good here from Macko. They're just clearing out the vision. The stun is going in straight away. They're going to try and find Leona. The Winter's Bright actually has himself a Zhonya's to keep himself alive just barely. They will get that summoner out of him, and they didn't burn anything untoward on the side of Macko. So big thing down for the side of MOUZ. Good opportunity here for Macko if they want to try and force something else.
Yeah, especially when you look at the ultimates that was used, right? You've got all of Leader's ult, you got Udyrs ult out, you got Gadget's ult out. Like, they're pretty damn big alongside the Solar Flare as well. So Macko could try and go, but they look like, hey, look, Sebekx, we kind of are playing around this ultimate. We don't want to over-aggress and try and end up tossing this game away. And I can kind of get where they're coming from, but at least I'm starting to see Macko adapt to how their composition works. They're like, look, we're bullies. We got a teddy bear, like every bully does. We're going to walk in here, and we're going to get vision control on this top side. We're going to make damn sure that you don't know how you're approaching this Baron. And that's where you can see MOUZ is just like, here, look, it's yours. Take everything, take what you want, it doesn't matter. They just can't walk up aggressive against Macko. So as long as Macko has got Sebekx here with Tibbers and Flash, you've got to play very defensive here as MOUZ.
I like the idea of like a bully coming over to a kid in the playground with his teddy bear in tow, and it's just like, oh man, that teddy bear looks really scary. And speaking of a scary teddy bear, they are trying to go for this, but there is no teddy bear here. So this is a 4v5 in favor of MOUZ. They are just able to get themselves out. The Glacial Fissure will stop everybody. Flash forward, not quite enough to take down Satorius, as we now see the paranoia now being used. You can see off of the side here, Cleanse burnt here by Darking as he tries to get himself out. Oh, has to use the ultimate to keep himself away from that True Shot barrage, but you've lost a lot of ultimates here, a lot of summoners here on the side of Macko, whereas MOUZ, they kind of only really lost the flash out of Satorius.
The big thing here, though, is again, Macko, like, you need to wait for Annie, right? I feel like if you end up in that situation where, one, you're engaging onto Enjawve, it's already kind of a bit of a Hail Mary play, but the fact you don't have your mid laner there is always going to make it tough to finish off MOUZ, regardless of whoever you jump onto. So, at least maybe now MOUZ can get some control here, especially that flash being burnt on Sebekx is so big for the like of Gadget and Leader, because it means that they can actually play back and they don't have to worry about Sebekx suddenly flashing on through them in some sort of front-to-back team fight or on a flank.
He does still have the Proto Belt, so we'll be able to kind of still do that. You can see the poke damage coming in here from Gadget and Leader as they try and just jump in. As I say that, it's actually Leona who gets on top of everybody here, and now they can look for the onslaught of shadows. It doesn't really hit them in the angle, but it does find Enjawve as he goes down. Now Pridestalkr walking forward with that Chaos Storm, not really able to get any purchase off of it, and now it's a 4v5 again around this dragon. But the dragon's already been started to take it. Honestly, you can't fight this right now if you're on the side of you can't contest it, excuse me, as Macko. You are going to flash in, though, with the Braum, try to get the Glacial Fissure, but he is deleted as he stands. There is a lot of damage onto the Xayah as well. They go in with the paranoia. That's a shutdown here for Satorius, and now Gadget can really start to wreak havoc. Nicely done over the wall, keeps himself alive and well. Satorius will get the fear off. They will kill off StenBosse, and that is going to be a nice one fight here for MOUZ, despite being 4v5.
It was unfortunate for Macko. They tried to get StenBosse on the flank, but he couldn't get in time. Now, we're taking it right the way back here as you do get Enjawve trying to get access towards the back line, but Tibber is being used and not really finding purchase onto the back line like we talked about is so big for MOUZ. They instantly see the Tibbers, they turn towards Dragon, they know they're safe in the pit here, and then watch StenBosse in the bottom here. He can't get into the fight. He's been completely zoned away just by the terrain, and now you get the MOUZ jumping forward, going aggressive, and fighting where they know they're stronger. And even in the bottom left corner, you can see Baron is going to cross to these guys as well. MOUZ have it all.
Yeah, it's just a very split fight, and this seems to be kind of a running trend here as Baron did go over in favor of MOUZ as well. So, you know, this is kind of a running trend that I'm noticing for Macko in this game, where they just seem to get a bit too excited. They don't seem to really, like, if their team is together, they are so difficult to just kind of lock down and so difficult to approach from as a mousesports team, because if you walk too far forward, you're just going to get bursted down by someone like a Renekton or an Annie or a Hecarim just running into you. But if you're running into the likes of MOUZ, it's exactly what they want. If MOUZ are able to set up and they're able to get their poke down, if they're able to get the gravity fields to set up, you know, kind of different setups. But speaking of setups, we're going to see Pridestalkr had his spidey sense, his jungle sense was tingling, and he pops down a ward, immediately gets taken away straight away. But again, look, when you look at the side of the map, like, this is MOUZ just kind of saying, cool, we'll just keep pushing bot.
Yeah, but this is because they know that this composition is so flash reliant. They're basically timing Sebekx flash and going, we're fine, we can go aggressive, and we're getting these big items coming through. Void Staff now completed for leader, and Cboi.
Cboi has to get himself out of dodge. Won't be a big ultimate cooldown, but it will be enough to guarantee at least a tier 2 in this bot side. You still have StenBosse kind of split pushing in the back end of this. You can see him on the top side, but they're already on inhibitor turrets. They're losing a lot more than they probably bargained for here.
And look where Sebekx is. Sebekx is still sitting mid. Cboi's doing the same. Like, they're trying to see if they can stop the waves, basically just trash bot lane inhibitor and say, hey, look, MOUZ, you can have this one. We need to stop you getting everything else. And it may work for the moment, but it does mean that, again, you can now transition mid here as MOUZ, get this mid lane turret, and hope StenBosse can maybe get some gold back in favor of Macko on this top side.
See, there's the True Shot Barrage blocked out, but that is a good solar flare. Only lands down onto the Braum, though, and they're going to have to back themselves away. So you lost 2 turrets in the bot side, and they're going to see the Paranoia jump in straight away. As we can see, everyone is trying to run off away from the top side of this map. StenBosse will survive. It's a fight over red buff at this stage. You can see the poke from these Qs. These Ezreal Mystic shots are really starting to do a number onto these even tanky members like the Braum.
That is true, but the timer is hit. Sebekx has got his flashback. This is where MOUZ have now got to change their mentality. They can no longer just play this super aggressive style, letting leader and Gadget do what they want, because at any point in time, Sebekx can flash forward aggressively with that rocket belt and delete any of the carries, but most crucially set up for the rest of this fight for Macko as well. So this is where you need to be so careful as MOUZ. Now, obviously, getting that bot lane inhibitor down makes things a little bit easier for them, buys them some space in the map. But when you've got this dragon coming up in 45 seconds, if you misstep at all as MOUZ, you are doomed at the hand of Sebekx.
It's going to be a kind of, honestly, it's going to be a difference between Gadget getting caught and Gadget not getting caught. I feel like that's going to be the big key thing now as we come up the dragon in 30 seconds. This would be Soul here from MOUZ. And it is only a Cloud Soul, so not the greatest in the world, but still something to definitely set yourself up for. All
Sebekx
summoners are available.
See, look at Sebekx TP down towards the bottom side. They've completely snuck Sebekx in. MOUZ have no idea Annie is behind them.
Yeah, but StenBosse is taking too much damage, has to pop the Dominus. Sebekx is behind the enemy lines. Now they know where he is. They saw him on the ward, and they're just going to run straight at him. You can see the stun has to be used there onto Pridestalkr. Now MOUZ are aware there's no Dominus here for StenBosse as he tries to get a bit of a reset in because he has got his TP available to him. Macko, top wave pushing against them, bot wave, mid lane, everywhere. All lanes are pushing against them. This is all MOUZ. MOUZ can just keep them here. That's not a problem. You can see StenBosse just waiting to see if he can get himself TPing in. There it is, onto the back end, towards the bot lane. There's the Paranoia flash forward. They're not going to be able to get the solar flare down. It is going to be stolen, though, by the side of MOUZ, and they get themselves their Cloud Soul. But now the ensuing teamfight can happen. You haven't got the Chaos Storm anymore, nor do you have summoners on your Leona, but I don't think you can go forward this because, like you talked about a million times, you haven't got a flash. But as I say that, they go forward. They're trying to see if they can catch somebody else. Gadget, he's been shut down, and that means the fight is all about Macko. Macko have taken away the damage dealer. They're trying to see if they can get leader as well. He's just a little bit too fast with the phase rush, but they've got enough CC to keep him in place, and that is going to be the shutdown going over to the side of Macko. StenBosse is keeping the two tanky boys. The base is in ruin. They need to try and get back as quick as they possibly can. They lose the dragon, they get the fight, but at what cost?
It's not done. They're still going here. They're just trying to let the minions win, but Sebekx has backed, and now MOUZ are in trouble.
MOUZ in a little bit of trouble. You can see StenBosse not quite in a position to be able to catch out Satorius. We'll have the slice and dice, though, in the next 2 seconds. You can see the Dustbringer coming in here as well. Will not be able to... Yes, he will. One more auto attack. Should be able to take him down. You get a nice cast injection now into your top laner. These are staggered deaths as well. So Macko, they might be able to look for this Baron in 20 seconds.
And the great news is for StenBosse as well is he's just completely cleared out that bottom wave. Like, you're not in trouble here as much, for that bottom side, causing pressure, maybe taking that in last Nexus turn, taking the Nexus. So they're free to go towards this objective. And when you're looking at MOUZ, you've got no top laner for 20 seconds. This could have been the turnaround now for Macko.
Also very, very important to notice, no flash on Gadget, no heal on Gadget, no flash on Leader. He does have his cleanse as we see him going forward, and they're going to try and burst somebody down, and it's going to be the Leona just about getting out with her life. Not quite. Cboi is there, able to brick that one up, and now, again, staggered deaths. You have got a 4v5. There is a TP, though, for Satorius, if he can get himself out. You can see that ward just behind the blue buff. So he looked to try and go for a Baron down to 7,000 HP. Satorius did TP towards the mid lane, and everyone from the side of Macko has to back away. Do you just kind of turn and burn, though, for this one for MOUZ? You can't leave Macko. You have to defend this.
And there's so much poke that can come out from MOUZ here. Again, no flash on Sebekx. They're trying to see if they can get flanks to set up this fight, but it's not going their way. Sebekx now needs to get a rocket belt, needs to be the one that gets in here, as StenBosse is being chased away.
StenBosse is being chased away. Baron down to about 4,000 HP. There is the onslaught of Shadow straight down, though. They're not able to get anything done, though, because of that paranoia. It just stops all forward momentum. Leader is dead. Look at these low health bars right now from the side of Macko. They lose nobody. Just about losing the GA off of the Renekton. StenBosse will fall, and he is going to try his very, very best, but you can just go straight back onto this mid lane. Try pushing this. More points of pressure. Hell, they can go straight back on the Baron.
Because look at bot lane. That inhibitor has got 1,000,001 minions around it. They won't be able to defend it. It looks like maybe Sebekx can clear it out before it goes down, but no, you've lost the inhibitor. You've lost the Baron. You've lost so much in that fight. Miracle Steal for Cboi is only thing on the charge.
Yeah, Satorius needs to be careful. That Baron does a hell of a lot of damage. They know they cannot go towards it, as Pridestalkr had died to the Baron, I believe, or died previously to this, so not able to get themselves a smite and guarantee. But look at just how they go for this. This is MOUZ just stalling so perfectly.
Yeah, and look at the way they're positioned, right? Satorius drops the paranoia. Instantly, you get the fallback coming through from the Viktor and from Gadget on this Ezreal. They're untouched, they're out of vision, but still pumping out all this damage. And it means that they're able to turn this fight around, despite the fact that it was a numbers advantage going in favor of Macko. Again, though, you've got to be so careful here, because if you try and go for this, it's so easy now for, again, MCK to try and find these opportunities. Enjawve hovering off from the side, but Sebekx flash is coming up very, very soon. And again, this team that MCK have of so reliant on these summoner spells.
4 items on the Annie, 4 items onto the Xayah. They are your 2 carries if you are on the side of Macko, but for MOUZ, they're still coming out with advantages. They lost a pick, then they lost another pick, then they lost 2 kills, and they still kind of came out on top of that Baron pay, but just bring your movement speed, definitely doing a lot there for Satorius.
I did not think that Annie was going to give me the most exciting game of the day. This is so close between both these teams. I mean, like, the Italian team coming out, showing all these cool picks. This is what I love about EU Masters. This is what I wanted to see from that first seed coming out from the PG National.
Yeah, and this is kind of your opportunity to do it. You are in a best of 1. We talked about Real Betis earlier, and they're kind of a crazy picks, but for this, any team realistically is, gotta be careful, Satorius. You are not a tanky boy, especially against the 4 items of this Xayah. But again, you know, it's best of 1s. It's these, you know, run and done, you know, kind of like, you know, drive-bys, if you will, that kind of just set yourself up. If you can get, you know, the surprise pick. Yeah, that is Udyr. He's run done, thank you, Stun. But if you could get these, you know, kind of little small advantages because you picked something that was different, you ran with something that was slightly unorthodox, and it gave you the advantage to be able to set yourself up for success, then that's a win in the win. That's a W in the win column. So see now, Baron down to 7,000 HP. There's the paranoia popping down. Do they have enough to burst this one down? I don't really know. They're actually going to completely forget about it. I think
Sebekx isn't here.
Sebekx here. Sebekx is not here, available to help his team. He TP's in, but it's just too late. There's nothing you can do. Yes, you defended the bot lane, well done, but you can't defend this Eldritch right now. These minions are going to be piling in.
Yeah, MOUZ are just playing the map better. They just understand, hey, look, we've got Super Creep Spot. Now you've got Darkris who's back to just try and hold. This is 3v5 now for MOUZ. This is not what you want as the Italian nationals.
TP into the base. TP in the base. It's going to be Elder for the game right now. As we can see, it's a 4v4 around the Elder Drake. Who's going to be able to get it? It's going to be taken by MOUZ. They get the steal. They get the kills. They get absolutely everything. There's only so much you can hold on for. And the Braum sitting very alone and very afraid, trying his very, very best. They will lose all objectives. They will lose all turrets. And they will lose this MOUZ match. MOUZ will come out the victors. And MOUZ will start their EU Masters campaign with a win.
It was long, it was hard, it was so well fought by Muchka, but at the end of the day, MOUZ, they play the map better, they play the team fights better, they do such a good job of playing to how their compositional strength is. And unfortunately for the PG National first seed, they just don't quite have it. We talked a couple of times about how they could have tried to play around Sebekx a little bit more, but it's all for naught when it's all said and done.
Yeah, definitely felt a little bit like they had some edges, but the pure class of MOUZ just absolutely run through. But we'll talk about it a little bit more in depth after the break. We're going to send it for a few minutes there to give you a bit of time to relax and collect your thoughts. We'll see you guys very, very soon. Welcome back, guys, gals, and non-binary pals to the EU Masters Day 1 main stage group stage of Spring 2021. It's a big L title. I am Penguin. I am joined by Dag. We're going to break you down what happened in that game. And honestly, there were moments of brilliance here from Macko, but again, like I said before we went to break, it felt like the class and the kind of the veterancy, if you will, of MOUZ just kind of came through in the end.
Yeah, I think it was more the impatience of Macko. I honestly think that this was such a cool pick from Sebekx. I really wanted it to work out, and it felt like finally Macko had got onto the same page. Was like, hey, look, we can play the bully style and move into the jungle, get full vision control, and make it really hard for MOUZ to operate. But when Sebekx flash was down, that was kind of the deal breaker here. And MOUZ were like, okay, we can get control of this game now. And every single time you could see, the second they had that 5-minute window, towers were falling, barons, dragons, everything. Oh my was being taken by MOUZ, and they were powering through the PG National first seed. And honestly, it's looking pretty good for the Prime League after our first 3 games today.
Yeah, they are now 2-0 up in the regional standings. NLC and LVP down 0-1 piece, same with the PG Nats, and I think LFL join in the middle with a 1-0 scoreline, but this was just a great little snipe here as he comes in and gets the smite down, but that was kind of it. You were forced to take that fight. You get the Elder there, maybe it looks a little bit different, maybe you're able to kind of get him, but again, not really doing it. Look at the goal difference. It was just constant. That looks like an LPL goal graph, just like, whoa, like, up and down, but it did feel like, I can look at the damage difference as well between, Leader and Gadget, against their respective opposite numbers, and it just really didn't come close. And like you said, like, I think that the impatience of Macko definitely worked against them very, very heavily. There was so many of those mid-game skirmishes where if they just had the Annie there, if they just had waited an extra 20 seconds or so, they probably would have been able to get a kill, another advantage. But you live and learn by the sword, and if you're coming into this next match, you're going to be taking those learnings after that loss as Macko, and you're going to be kind of thinking about that going into tomorrow.
But that's the thing, when you look at how stacked the talent is, every inch matters. And unfortunately here for Macko, they just couldn't quite measure up to MOUZ Esports, who will take that victory. But as you can see in your screens, we are going to be leading ourselves into our second half of the day, now with the close of MOUZ Esports versus Macko.
Yep, you got Luminar Gaming coming up against UCAM Esports Club. 2 Polish games in a row. Then we get another rematch of Spain versus France as they try and see if G2 Arctic can get a little bit of a revenge there for their fallen brothers of Real Betis. This is going to be our last cast of the day. We are going to be sending it all to a break, and then when we return, you'll have 2 brand new, fresh as daisy casters in Munchables and Aux. So honestly, can't really wait for that. They're, it's just going to be pop-off games. Honestly, I'm trying to think of like all these pop-off games and what ones I think is more pop-off. It's like, they're all pop-off. That's just the end of it.
There's a lot of pop-off in that sentence. But yes, I do agree. I think that overall, we've got so much to look forward to coming into EU Masters. I mean, look, day 1, we've already got an Annie being played in the mid lane. We've got Carmine Corp coming out, Prime League punching back. This is all the action that I wanted from EU Masters.
Yeah, there's still a hell of a lot more for it to go. We're going to send it to a break, and when we return, we'll be gone. New casters will be here, but there'll be plenty more games.